The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob Emrani.
Accident or injury, call Jacob Emrani. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mase. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason, along with Sue 𝐒𝐞𝐫𝐚. This is the show where we talk about everything happening in pop culture. Great guest today. One of the busiest guys in Hollywood. He is on both the Big Door Prize, which is streaming on Apple Plus, and he's on Max. He's in the other two, and it's just hilarious. Josh Segarra is going to join us. In the meantime, Sue 𝐒𝐞𝐫𝐚, how you been? What's up?
I've been good. I don't even want to get into what's been going on.
Yeah, you're not even going
to
to talk about the thing that happened that you know.
Well, I got hacked.
Yeah, I know. God.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So I got hacked, and then I got scammed, but it was a happy ending. So
good. Hacked,
all is good.
Scammed, and still happy at the end of the day. That is good.
Exactly.
So we had a little, I won't say assignment. We both went to see Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga this week. Sue, I've got a reaction. I'm sure what's your reaction to the movie? What did you think of it?
I liked it more than I thought I was going to like it, because if we weren't going to talk about it, I don't think I would have gone to see it.
Right. I agree.
Which is
agree.
A lot of the movies that you go to see are movies that, I don't like.
Yes.
Or the genre I'm not a big fan of.
Yes.
Two things that really, really stood out for me. The casting of the kid who played Anya Taylor as a kid was insanely great. And
it was uncanny,
they need to get an Academy Award for that. She looked exactly like her. Her eyes, because Anya Taylor-Joy's eyes are just, they're so specific.
Yes.
So that I loved. And Chris Hemsworth, I thought that he was incredible. The character that he played, this cheeky bad guy.
Yeah.
He was perfect. All of the craziness and the violence, and it was kind of like the Magnificent Men in their flying machines.
Right.
All the different vehicles that they had created. It's just not my thing. But
right.
I love the ending.
The ending. Yeah. The ending is great.
The ending is great.
Now, here's the thing. You probably never saw Mad Max Fury Road, because it's, again, not in your wheelhouse, right?
Right. I haven't.
So I saw Mad Max Fury Road, which was nominated for 10 Academy Awards and won 6. It was a great, great film. I think this was on par with that. I think it was, it's not quite Fury Road, but it's really, really good. I love the choreography and the action sequences, just amazing stuff. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy, really, really good. Chris Hemsworth, I thought, was fantastic. And overall, I think, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, of all the mainstream films this year, it's at 90%, which is the second best score. Critics absolutely love this thing. And I think for good reason. I think it is a fantastic movie. Fantastic.
Yeah. And again, aesthetically, the special effects and the stunt work, unreal.
Yeah.
Just unreal. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful to look at.
It was. It's the choreography and the fights, the wasteland, the sort of vast barren area where they're all, and it's got that orangey color. I just thought I was entertained from beginning to end. Now, I am a sucker for a George Miller movie. I loved Fury Road. There was an appetite, at least for me, to see another one. But America has decided that Furiosa is not a hit. Furiosa did not do the numbers anybody hoped for this weekend. In fact, this is a little scary when you think about it. This was the lowest 4-day Memorial Weekend for the #1 film since 1984. That's 40 years since we've seen a movie open at this level on Memorial Day weekend and still be #1. It did $32 million for the 4-day weekend. The movie cost $168 million to make. Why didn't the movie work, I guess, is the question.
Well, what I was reading was that they're blaming it on the strike. They said that they think that it's residue from the strike. I don't know. It's kind of like blaming your cleaning lady for everything that's broken in your house, you know?
Right.
I mean, that is something that the pandemic, I mean, they're going to be blaming that for years. I was shocked to hear that. And I don't know. I mean, it came out, it didn't come, it came out Memorial Day weekend. So,
right.
Did that have something to do with it, with people being on vacation? Or
no, that's normally one of the biggest weekends of the year.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest weekends of the year.
I don't get it because it's been such a popular franchise that I just don't get it. So what's your theory?
Okay, so my theory is this. So, I used to write box office for a bunch of different websites, and I sort of got deep into this. So I'll go a little bit into the weeds on it. When you're analyzing a movie and its box office performance, there are 4 quadrants. Think of it this way. There is a quadrant for men 25 plus, men under 25, women 25 plus, women under 25. Now, it's an R-rated movie. What demo do you think hit the biggest?
Well, I'm sorry, men 35. What is it? 35.
Men 25 plus. Men 25 plus.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Men under 25. Again, that's a bunch of kids. Can't get in to see an R-rated movie. Women, and by the way, this, you said it yourself. This is not your kind of movie. It's not any woman's kind of movie, apparently, in America, because women did not show up to see Furiosa. So I think, sadly, this is going to be the end of the Mad Max saga. I don't think there will be another Mad Max. George Miller has probably made his final Mad Max movie, which I think is a shame. $165 million is an out-of-control budget. I don't know how you got to do, 163 times 2 is 130. You got to do $500 million to even break even with a budget like that.
Oh, when I was watching it, I kept on going, ching, 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 with every effect. I was like, oh my God, this had to cost so much money.
Now, one thing about the movie, and I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was great, and I love her. She's great in, what was the chess show? The chess show.
Yeah, I know.
The chess show. Anyway, just go with that.
The chess
show. You guys Google it if you want to. She was in a chess.
Was it Queen's Gambit?
Queen's Gambit. There you go. There. It eventually popped up. But the movie did miss a star of the caliber of Charlize Theron. Anya Taylor-Joy is great. Charlize Theron would have made this a hit. I really think they were one Charlize away from having a really big opening weekend. Because she's a legit big-time movie star, and Anya Taylor-Joy is not quite there yet. So I do think the absence of Charlize is one of the reasons the movie opened so soft. Now, here's the question. It was a terrible May at the box office. In fact, let's see, I pulled some numbers here. If has done really well. Have you seen, do you know that movie, If?
I haven't seen it.
That's the John Krasinski movie. I've not seen it either, but it's playing with families and it's playing really well. If you look at the month of May so far, and again, this is one of the biggest movie months in the year traditionally. If you look at it, Garfield ended up at 31 million, which is actually a good number for a family film. If is now at 64.8 million. So again, that thing's going to hit 100 million, and it's playing really well. Did another 22 million over Memorial Day weekend. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, big hit, $127 million so far. Fall Guy, very disappointing, 74 million so far. If you look at the month of May, the only real surefire hit in the group was Planet of the Apes, with maybe If you could put it in that category too. But overall, a really soft month. Now, what do you think is going on there?
I I can't figure out why. I can't. I thought you were going to tell me that the Planet of the Apes film didn't do well.
No, it did do well.
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me that it didn't do well based on what Mad Max did.
Yes.
So, you know, some movies need stars and some people just need the cachet of sequels or prequels. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a panic in town. You know, I know people in the movie business, particularly on the theater side, and there's a panic in town about, well, maybe this is the end of movies as we know them. I mean, we're a year removed from Barbenheimer, which was gigantic. 2 movies that hit $1 billion worldwide and a gigantic opening weekend. Have things just run dry? Even when I look at the calendar now, part of this is strike related, but it's strike related because there's not enough product. Like, for example, on Friday, May the 31st, we're recording this on Thursday, there is no major wide release. For there not to be a big release on the first weekend of June is just a disaster for the business. And it's because there are not enough movies. There are really only 2 movies that everybody's waiting for now this summer. Bad Boys, which is Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and that is targeting about $50 million on opening weekend, which would be a great number. And then Deadpool and Wolverine, which is going to be a gigantic movie. That thing's going to do $200 million plus. But those are the only 2 that you can really count on right now. So I think part of it is strike related because there's not enough good product and they're sort of spread really thin. The other part of it is, I mean, this kind of pisses me off, but The Fall Guy, which is a movie I really liked, is already streaming on, I think it's streaming on Peacock.
Right.
So what's the incentive for going out to see a movie and paying $18 a head or whatever it is, if you know that in 3 weeks, and it started streaming 3 weeks later, if 3 weeks later you can get it for free? I mean, this is a case of studios eating themselves alive. It's like, if you know you can see it at home in a couple, why go to a theater? So I think there's an element of that. But I think a lot of it is product related. I mean, it is movie related. This Furiosa was, and maybe we were all fooled, was never going to be a mainstream movie. It was always going to be, you know, fanboys and people who love that franchise, but not recruit a larger audience. So maybe we just misjudged that. But I'll tell you that one of the big problems is Marvel. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is broken. Kevin Feige is trying to fix it. There's only 1 Marvel movie this year. And we have been going with like 3 gigantic Marvel movies every year doing $200 million plus. There's only 1 this year. So there's definitely an issue with those big tentpole movies. We just don't have as many sure things as we used to have. But I think the panic is unnecessary. People will go back to movie theaters. There will be theaters. I think we will always have movie theaters. Do you think so?
I think we will. But I don't think it's just the movie industry. A friend of mine sent me an article about the state of reality TV, and the title of the piece was Unscripted is on life support.
Really?
Yes, it was so depressing.
So despite all of the Real Housewives and Vanderpump Rules, and
there are certain franchises that will always do okay, you know, like the big shiny floor shows, you know?
Yeah, right.
But they were talking about...
What do you mean by big shiny floor shows?
Well, like America's Got Talent.
Oh,
and,
okay. So
you know,
talent
The Voice,
competitions, The Voice, and American Idol,
shows like that, or like, I don't know, I guess Beat Shazam. I haven't seen it, but you know, that's a new show.
So stuff in the game show category.
Some in the stuff like that. But they were talking about people's employment, producers who, you know, haven't worked for years. And if you weren't locked in to one of these shiny floor shows or you know, the tried and true, you know, Top Chef and shows like that, if you were not locked in as a producer, then you're just shit out of luck.
Wow.
You're not going to get a job.
Damn.
Yeah, it's very scary.
That is scary. Yeah, I mean, I think the movie business is in a slump. I think reality TV, although it's everywhere, it feels, I don't know, I don't watch any of it. Do you watch any of the reality stuff?
Not really, no.
I mean, so is it surprising? Juan watches all of them. He watches Real Housewives of Dubuque and Crazy Ladies in Miami and Vanderpump Rules. He watches all of that stuff, and there's a market for that.
Yeah, I know, unfortunately.
And my mom and not stepdad Leo, they love all the talent competitions. So they watch The Voice, they watch American Idol, they watch America's Got Talent. They love that stuff. And it's good, cheap programming, I think, for networks.
Yeah, but they were saying how, reality TV was the bastard child when it first came out. And the reason why it was so successful is that it was cheaper to make. And now it's not as cheap to make.
Right.
Those budgets are crazy.
Well, there's also, I mean, in that category, there are so many reality shows, and so much of it is dreadful garbage. It really, there's, so I think there's an element of they're killing the golden goose by having too much of this stuff out there.
Right. And, when the reality genre first exploded, like when I worked on the Osbournes and Newlyweds, the cast wasn't making a lot of money. I mean, the Newlyweds cast was making like nothing. But then with the success of the show, they were like, okay, we see how much
expensive,
so like now all the time, like I bet you those housewives are making bank for sure.
I think they are. Yeah. So it's gotten more expensive. There's also a rumor that Andy Cohen may be leaving Bravo, which I don't know what that would. Andy Cohen sort of runs Bravo. He's the mastermind behind everything. I don't know. I don't think there's any replacing him. But there's talk that he may be out there, so that's interesting too. All right, let's do this thing. Our guest today is one of the busiest guys in Hollywood. He started out in the main role on The Electric Company on PBS. Since then, his television work has included Sirens, Chicago PD, Arrow, Orange is the New Black, and the other two. And his current project is the heartfelt comedy, The Big Door Prize. It is currently streaming on Apple+. Josh Segarra joins us. Josh, thanks a lot for coming on the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we love the Big Door Prize. It is such a, it's so quirky and it's so heartfelt. There's like, it's just a good-natured show where I like all the characters and there's no mean-spiritedness. I think it's the show that the country really needs right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you saying all that. I agree with you. Well said.
So tell me about your life potential. This is what I took away from the show right away was, damn, if I got one of those Morpho cards, what would it say and how would I react to it? Do you go through that sort of what if game at all?
Well, you got to tell me what would you think yours would say? You go first.
Talker.
Yeah, for sure. And you would be happy to get that, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm on the radio. I do the podcast. I love the card talker.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be incredible. I mean, that's what's interesting about the, what you were saying earlier and right now. That's what's interesting about it is that I was always intrigued by the idea of these cards showing up and people wanting them to be true so badly that then what comes first, the chicken or the egg, So I feel the same where I would hope that my card would just solidify the things that I'm proud of, right? The things that I've worked hard for. If I were to get father, hey man, I'd be a happy camper with that. I got 3 little boys. They're upstairs right now, getting to bed. If I got actor, hey man, I'd be walking around just like Giorgio, being like, yo, I got actor, right? So, it's but I love it. I think that's a driving force in our show is what you said so kindly earlier, which is I think that it gives people an opportunity. I hope our audience that are with us on the journey are connecting to these characters and they're seeing the hope that these characters have, and they're seeing I hope that when people look at 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o, I hope they giggle every once in a while, but I also hope that they see how hard he loves. He's just a big old, he's just looking for somebody to match that. And I think that's what's so fun about this second season with Natalie, played by Mary Holland. We just have so much fun together out there, and it's a nice compadre for 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o to have.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Hey, Sue, real quick, if you're listening to the show, if you haven't seen Big Door Prize, we should explain that it's this machine shows up in the town of Deerfield. It's called the Morpho, and for a few quarters, you can discover your life potential. And Josh plays 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o, who's like one of the really, really great characters in the show, Sue.
So, your character has a major transformation. When I first started watching it, I was like, who is this guy, 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o? He's so full of himself, this narcissist. But you do have a major transformation in season 2. And I want you to talk about that journey.
Okay, but first, Sue, you're not getting out of this. What would you want your part to say? And this is open. What would you want it to say? Another life? What would it be? What would make you curious?
Well, I think it would be really true to what my life has been, comedian, because I did stand up for a long time, and I've always, class clown. It's something that I wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. So I would hope that would be the card that would show up.
I think that's what we all have in common. We all get to be artistically creative and get to come out here and have fun conversations,
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we, in that first season, I think it's actually pretty simple. In the first season, I think that 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o was all about me. And I think that in the second season, it's all about the you, or them, or he finally gets to shed himself of that, the figurative and literal layers that he has. He rid himself of these things, these insecurities. He gets this superstar card, right? So, first thing I'm thinking about is like, okay, well, on the page, he's of course telling everybody how much of a superstar he is and reminding everybody how much he was deadlifting when he injures his arm, his catching hand. All the things that I love, of course, is playing the character, because that's such a fun thing to get to do. But I'm also thinking about, like, okay, why is he saying these things? Why is he like this? I'm going to approach it from a place where, even the bad characters, or the quote unquote bad or evil characters that I've gotten to play in my career, I'm still approaching them like they're their hero in their own story. So I still approach them with love and grace and patience. So for me, it is, why is this really evil person the way they are? Why is 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o this way? And if you recall in the first season, he talks about his dad leaving him when he was young, going back to Puerto Rico, and he talks about his stepdad, Rocco 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o, being so amazing and being so proud of him that, he changes his own name to 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o. And so all he's wanted is somebody to tell him that he's doing okay, right? All he's wanted is somebody to tell him that he's loved, that he did well, that he's going to do well. And all of a sudden, here comes Natalie, and so perfectly arced out by David West Reed, our creator, our showrunner, and just a great guy. Arced out so perfectly, where we meet in that finale, and then this whole second season, you get to see what it would be like for 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o to be in love and for Natalie to be in love and to support each other. And then you get to see him be best friends to Dusty, and you get to see that relationship flourish. And you stop with the antagonistic relationship, and you get to see them be there for each other. You get to see 𝐉𝐵𝐺𝐽o be there for Father Ruben. You get to see him be there for Trina. So this whole season is shaped that way. It's what he has to offer finally, and I think that's where we're at.
You mentioned David West Reed, who developed the show from a book by M.O. Walsh. And David, so when I started watching the show, I didn't know much about it. And I thought to myself, boy, it feels a little bit like Schitt's Creek in a weird way. And then I come to find out that David West Reed was an executive producer on Schitt's Creek. Does the show have that vibe to you?
Well, I didn't watch all of 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐞𝐫𝐾, unfortunately, but when I signed on to this, I've definitely watched a ton of it now. I've watched it out of order, knowing knowing that he had an opportunity to really live in that world and live in that space. I can see the similarities with the things that he found that I think brings people to connect to the show. And I think that, to put it plainly, I think that it's about the people, right? That's one thing that when the second you turn on 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐞𝐫𝐾, you see that you're getting to know these people. And that's what makes any show good, is that you have to build around characters that if you can put character A and character D in a room together, they can have a good scene. And if you can put character C and character D in a room together, they can have a good scene. And so on and so forth. And that's one thing that I love about the show that Dave 100% was conscious of in our conversations. But I would say it's got to be, from those years of experience of him. He's also got & Juliet on Broadway, which is an incredible...
I didn't realize that. I saw that show. It's a great show.
That's David. That's David's show.
Okay, that's a fun show.
I mean, what he really brings, and I think he's put it into all of the projects, he brings... That guy is so... he's such a great energy, and he is such a great leader on set. And I think one of the things that makes him so great is his availability, is his openness to discuss, his openness in himself. He's just got a very positive energy about himself. So when you look at these characters, even the quote unquote Giorgios of the world that we can say might rub folks the wrong way, he's making sure to put the heart in there every once in a while, because and I don't want to speak for him, but one of the things I love of what he says is that he talks about, he's obsessed with these characters that look one way but are something else. I too am obsessed with characters that may look like Lance, and by look I mean what they seem like, but when you actually get to know Lance, that's why Lance is the way he is. That's why Giorgio is this. That's why such and such. So that's always just and it comes down to the fact that that's just fun to get to do at work. It's a fun thing to get to play with, and it's a fun thing to get that text from my mom that's like, Giorgio is so stupid. I'm like, I know. And that, of course, is stupid in the positive sense, he's so stupid, Poppy. Like, I know. He is so stupid.
well, he really has this brutally honest charm to him.
He does.
And I actually look forward to your dialogue more than anyone else in the show, because what they write for you, like when the father was getting cozy with Hannah, and you said to him, something brewing with you too, and I mean, it's so corny, but it's such fun. And that's actually what I really appreciate about a lot of the characters, is that there is such honesty with everybody.
Yeah.
No one really, holds back on how they feel. And I think that in doing that, I think that they really help each other because they're honest about each other.
Yeah. Yeah, really good points. I never thought about that honesty, and it's so true. That's, one of the things that I look for when I'm watching TV is an opportunity to escape, right? Our everyday lives, right? Entertainment. So what's interesting about Big Door Prize, is that we are giving an opportunity, I think, for our audience to escape into what we all might have been thinking, even as recently as the pandemic, that maybe that was a joint thought where everyone was like, what am I really doing right now? Do I want to keep doing what I was doing before this, or do I want to try something completely different? And we all have those thoughts every day, right? So we're giving an opportunity, I think, to our audience to kind of go on that journey with all these characters who, like you said, Sue, are all being as honest as they can be in this really crazy moment.
Yeah.
And, in real life, could this happen to a town? Maybe. That'd be kind of fun, But hey, on TV, this is happening to a town and everybody is following it. You know what? It is happening. I laugh because, for that machine, for our Morpho, what do you have to put in? Your social security, a couple bucks, and your fingerprints?
Yep.
And we're protective of those things, but, we have things in our real life that we're already giving our information to. And then, if you're really looking for signs, you can find them everywhere now. That's what our world has been based in, So I guess, what I say it's further than from reality, but you know what? Maybe not. Maybe this could happen anywhere.
Do you believe in signs? Do you believe that that the universe sends you signs and you read those and kind of sends you off the way a Morpho card might?
As honest as I can be, it's funny. I guess when it's positive, I like those signs. Right?
Ignore the bad signs.
That's what I'm saying. The bad signs, that's just the sign. That's nothing. Don't worry about that. But all the good ones, I'm like, oh, this was supposed to happen this way. This is so, I do believe in trying your best. And sometimes we'll come up short. But I sure do believe in trying your best and the golden rule, treating everybody with respect, do unto others.
Amen.
And
Amen.
I do believe that comes back around, and I think those are the signs that we're really looking for, And this goofy thing I get to do, the best thing about it is that I get to, I get to go and meet new people and make new friends all the time. And I get to go try something completely different. I get to wear a whole different hat. I get to try Kung Fu. I get to try photography. I get to try clothing design. I get to try all these things and put the hat on for a little bit. So, and getting to see all these different walks of life. That's the one common thing, right? Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, I think I was reading that you were a martial artist. Is that what you did? Were you did you do martial arts?
No, I'm sorry. No, that was not true.
Oh, that's what they wrote about you. Well, they talked about I think they talked about wrestling.
Wrestling. No, you're a big wrestling
No,
guy.
you're a wrestler, not martial arts. Wrestling.
Yeah, no, great.
So the reason why I wanted to know if that was accurate, did you choreograph your wrestling?
So let me say first off, I'm a huge MMA fan. I mean, I love the martial arts. I watch all the pay-per-views, so that's not wrong. Don't worry. But when it comes to our show, I have never been a professional wrestler, but I've been a professional wrestler my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Like since I was 2, I've been a professional wrestler.
Wait a minute. Do you have a Morpho machine in your house?
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, earlier we were talking about if we got our card, what would it say and would we follow it? I will tell you, if I got a card, the most tempting one would be a professional wrestler. If that happened, that would be the one where I'd be like, man, I guess I could just pivot, hopefully, No, I've grown up with professional wrestling. It's just been a hobby of mine. I'm watching it. And if I gave you a tour of my little TV room right now, you'd see all my action figures and my posters and all my things, and half of them are wrestling. And getting to know each other in our first season, Dave and Sarah Walker, they at some point decided they were going to give me a wrestling episode. And what did that really mean at the time? I didn't know, but they knew, and they were shaping together this episode that just aired last week. And it is my love letter. It is Dave's love letter, our love letter to professional wrestling. I sent them many YouTube videos. We had many conversations about, making sure that certain wrestlers were used the right way in script, and, making sure that, and this was Dave bringing me stuff. I was a sounding board, but he knew that I was a self-proclaimed expert sounding board on professional wrestling fandom, at least. So it was really
Who's
fun.
your favorite wrestler?
All time, probably Razor Ramon, Scott Hall.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a choice as an adult. That is looking back at the career arcs that they've all had. As a kid, I was a Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man guy, and then when I got a little older to my teenage years, that was the Attitude Era. That was The Rock, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle. And then those years were the WCW, WWE fights, the Monday Night War. So that was the NWO. That was Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and he started as the Razor. So all these little things, just conversations like this, Dave would be like, all right, if I want to make like a list of bad guys, of heels, which ones, what if I did, such and such, such and such, such and such, such and such. And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be fun. Maybe add in such and such and take out such and such. And he sent me that script, and I was like a little kid. Sue, you said earlier very kindly that you're looking forward to Giorgio's dialogue, but I can't even take credit for that. So I say very kindly for Dave and for Sarah and for our writing team, because I look forward to it too. I look forward to see what I get to say at work, and I'm so thankful that the second I read it, I get to let my imagination run and see how I'm going to say these to my friends and how I'm going to present it to them, and then we can kind of just be in the moment together. So with that wrestling episode, that got Damon really excited. Damon Gupton, who plays Father Ruben, he's a lapsed wrestling fan and got back into it because of the episode, and we talked a lot about, his memories as a kid and that, and all the high schoolers in the show. They really brought it in this episode. And I thought it was just a great episode for a lot of the characters. So it was just really cool. Really, really cool. Thanks for asking about that.
Yeah.
So one of your first, actually, no, let me ask you this. I saw a little clip from you on Sherry Shepherd. I don't know exactly when it was, but you described your mom's role in your career. You mentioned your mom a little bit earlier. At one point, you used the term momager, and then you kind of took it back. Describe the role that your mom has played in your career.
Well, I probably took back momager because she's never been an actual momager. That was never her role. She's never actually ever been involved in my career. What she has been is fully involved in every step of my career as my mom. And that, to me, was magical when I look back at it. Because now that I'm a dad, not even being a dad, now that I'm an adult, I can look back at my mom and my dad and see how hard they worked, and see the moments that they could have reacted differently, the moments that they could have said different things than they did. And, they would argue that this is not true. My mom would be the first one to be like, oh my God, remember when I did this and I did this? And I would just be like, they've just always been there for me, man. And it's just one of those things where it's kind of hard to explain, but it basically is just like, when you're pursuing anything, when you have dreams, it's so nice to have somebody early on in your life in your corner that's telling you that, one, you can do them, you can achieve them, and two, don't worry because we got your back. So like that is twofold, right? Somebody could just say it, and that's nice. But I had my parents who, from the very beginning, when I was, 13, 14, my parents were working in the pharmacy and they were working full time. They were, and I wanted to, they were auditioning the Mickey Mouse Club round 2 in Orlando at like a Disney parking lot, and I just wanted to go. It was, and my parents were working, so they couldn't take me to stuff. If it was at 3:30 on a Tuesday or 4:30 on a Wednesday, but my mom was always like, "Don't worry, Papa." My dad was like, "Don't worry, Papa. When you get your car, you do anything you want. You need headshots, we'll get you headshots. You need an agent? Okay, well then just tell us what you need for an agent." And it was all the beginning infant stage of this whole thing, but looking back now, it was so important to have that basis because they proved to me what they were saying, you know?
Yeah.
So you get into the real stresses of life when you're not 14 anymore. And it's nice to have people that have already shown you their track record. And it's even better when it's your mom and your dad. So if you feel like you can really trust your mom and your dad, that's a pretty blessed. And I feel that way, you know. I appreciate you asking about them. I do have to tell you, Sue, while I was talking about my mom and my dad, it occurred to me that I didn't even answer your question that you asked me at the end. I was just got to talking about wrestling, and you asked me if I helped choreograph it. And this is why I want to go back to it, because we had an incredible guy, an indie wrestler, come in, and this guy's been on the circuit. He came in and he helped us out, and they had a fight choreographer that was there, and it was me and Damon, and it was the four of us, and we based it off of Savage Steamboat, WrestleMania 3, this really important match in wrestling history. That was like the structure of it. And then we just went in and we had some ring time, and we got to work for 3-4 weeks on it, and it was so fun. And it was, you know, working on the things that we could do, and I'm all about letting my stunt guys come in there and do what they need to do. That way we can craft this thing together. But I also am a wrestling fan, so I wanted to do as much as I could do. So we had a really great time piecing together this whole match, and on the day, you know, it probably took us a few days to shoot. The director, Satya, was incredible, and he was just like, "Oh, okay, I see you're doing this, you know, this smell up into the air, and that's the Rock in the corner, you know." It's like, I'm gonna catch that. Okay, great. Hey, I see you're doing this kind of like shoulder shimmy. I'm like, yeah, that's Eddie Guerrero. He's like, all right, great, I'm gonna put that in there. So it's little things like that. So yeah, it was
very
really
cool.
Yeah, really fun.
Oh, that's fun.
So Sue and I both love the other two. It's such a funny show.
Me too.
And the thing I love is that there are so many jokes, like jokes on jokes. Like I've got to watch the episode twice to actually get all the jokes. And I was reading an article about the show, and your character Lance was described as a himbo, a good-looking but simple-minded guy. Now, do you think, is that how you view Lance?
No, I never saw him as a himbo. But I'm actually kind of flattered by it, you know. So I appreciate the terminology. I'm going to tell myself that I was part of. I'm joining the list of himbos that have existed before. I believe on that list is Phil Dunphy from The Office.
Yes.
From Modern Family.
Right.
I believe that Steve Carell's character from The Office is on there.
Yeah.
Scott. There's a few on there that are legends, you know. So I hope that I'm on that list somewhere on it. You know, give me top 50 at least, and I'll take it. So I you know, like at anything else, you know, I thought that Lance had his depth. If anything, I always wanted to make, and once again, this is why TV is TV. Believe me, I wish I was as good-hearted as Lance. So when you have a character like that, it's really nice to just, the first choice you can always try is like, what would the kindest dude in the world say right now? What would like the nicest, biggest heart, sweetest guy do in this moment? And it was put to me by Chris Kelly, one of our two creators, our showrunners, whom I love. He said to me one day, we were in the middle of a scene and we were working through something, and he said, just remember that Lance is the one good one in the middle of all the other people. And I was like, oh. And that was early on, and it kind of just clicked. I was like, oh, and that became a device that I would use. One of the tricks that we all have, that before I go to work, I would just think about that, or the middle of a scene where it was just kind of has the whole family together, you know. So if he comes off simple-minded, it's true. It's because he's pretty simple. He's pretty direct. He's very honest, and he's all love. And come on, he loves Cookbrook. Come on, he loves his Brook.
Yeah, yeah.
He loves the Dubecks. He can't live without them.
I want to ask you an actory kind of question, because in anticipation of meeting you, I wanted to know how much of you, especially in Giorgio's character, because, I see the way you smile and you laugh, and it just feels like so much of you is so innately in this character. So when you're auditioning for something, because sometimes, you get that one shot at an audition, how challenging is it for you to just, like, the choices that you make in the audition? Because you could make a certain choice and they're like, oh God, he's so not right for the part, So what goes through your head when you get the sides and you're trying to figure out, how do I play this?
So the first thing that I have to remind myself every single audition is actually what you just said, which is, they may not like me. They may not like what I do. They may watch the stuff that I do and then get my tape and be like, wow, he's so different than what I thought he was going to be. And I can't think about any of that, because I can tell you that when I was coming up, when I was first auditioning, I was in my young 20s, and I'm forever grateful to a pack of casting directors out here in New York City. They all know who they are, but it's a few of them that would tell me, like, you're not right for this, but there is something going on here.
Yeah.
So we'll see you tomorrow for that other project that you're probably not right for too, but just bring it in. And I'd say, okay, and we'd work, and we would find, I can now realize they were helping me find what type of actor I wanted to be. Because I really was just coming at it from, hey, tell me what you need from me. I was coming at it, and I still approach this with a very, like a worker's mentality. When do you need me there? Do you need me in first gear, or do you need me in sixth gear? Do you need me in third? Do you need me in fifth? And because that's fun to me. Where do I fit in? What can I play on this band? So early on, I was trying to figure out what instruments I could play. I didn't quite know that yet. I was a young actor coming out of college, and I went to a great program, and we acted like animals sometimes. Sometimes we did voice and speech, and we did our haws, and sometimes we did movement pieces. And then you get out to the real world. And I also did my serious stuff, and I did my audition, my audition craft workshop. But you get into the real world, and everything is different. And you're in these rooms, and you are trying to be what you see is on this little box. 20s to 30s, brown hair, athletic, wants to be boss of hotel. Okay. 20s, 30s, athletic, wants to be boss of hotel, go. And then you're trying to be these things. And then over time, certain jobs come along, if you're lucky, and I was lucky, certain jobs come along, or certain people come along, and they say, hey, that thing, whatever that was, that's interesting. And I go, oh, okay. And I started to learn that when I find myself having the most fun in these characters, that's when I think I'm at my most honest. And what I like to watch on screen is people being really honest and really vulnerable. So I know that if I'm having fun, and if I can find the joy in these characters, and I can hopefully convey that through the screen, that hopefully people will feel the joy that I'm feeling. And that is in every character. You know, when I played, I got to play a character named Adrian Chase on Arrow. And this character, spoiler alert, ends up being a pretty bad guy. But I went to work every day only thinking about how much I loved the Green Arrow, how much I loved everyone in this office, and what that would like. Sure, is it the same type? Does he show it the same way that Lance does or that Giorgio does? Of course not. He's a lawyer. He's a district attorney. He shows it differently, but it's still there, and it's got to be permeating so that when he finally rips that, he's just so happy that he finally gets to take this mask off that he's had on this whole time. And to me, that's what's fun. That's what I get juiced about. That's what keeps me up the night before I have to do a big scene or a scene where it's all of us in a room together. And I know there's going to be opportunities to kind of zing some friends and crack some jokes. So when I'm doing these auditions, to bring it full circle, when I'm doing these auditions, I'm first reading my script. I want to see what they need from me. Oh, okay. We are at a laundromat. I am meeting a new friend. By the end of the scene, we have to like each other enough to go get coffee. Okay. Let's have some fun. And let's do it as best as I think I would have fun doing it. And hopefully it matches to what they need for the character. And then on top of that, they're also going, man, and that guy looked like he had a pretty good time in that tape, huh? Hey, you remember when we watched that guy's tape? He had a good time in that tape. He wasn't right for the part, but maybe we'll call him for that other thing. You know that other thing we're doing? Yeah. I want to work with that guy. And that's how I base my choices, on people that give me that energy. So I'm just trying to show them how much fun we could have, you know, and go from there.
So my main job, this is one of my jobs, but my main job is on ESPN Radio. So it would be stupid of me not to ask about the jerseys behind you. I'm picking some of them out. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, you can't see this, but if you're watching on YouTube, you can. So that looks like a Mets jersey with Segarra on the back. Is that right?
That is actually a Cubs jersey with Segarra. I got to throw out the first pitch at Wrigley.
Nice.
I did that during an out of town run of On Your Feet, and I also got to sing the seventh inning stretch.
Nice.
With my cast while I was doing Sirens. So the Cubs have been very cool to me. Then we've got Mark Sanchez right there.
My man, Mark Sanchez. I go so far back with Mark. He's a great dude.
I know you do, Steve. That's the Sanchez. I moved to New York in 2004. So those were the years that I really developed my Jets fandom. And I'm very appreciative to Mark for those great years that he gave me as a young Jets fan, you know?
Yeah.
I've now been with the squad 20 years. So it's been really cool. So he came and saw Liz Estrada Jones, my Broadway debut. We get an announcement before the show that says, "Hey, in the audience tonight, we have Mark Sanchez, a quarterback for the New York Jets." They say over the intercom, you know, and I'm running down the hallway. I call my wife. I'm like, "Babe, go to my drawer, grab the Sanchez shirt, bring it to the theater." He was in Astoria. So anybody that doesn't know the layout of New York City, look, she had to get on a train in Astoria, Fleet, be on the train for 20, 25 minutes, come to Times Square and come drop that off for me so he could sign it. Then we've got a Nick Anderson right here, signed by Nick Anderson himself.
Nice.
I'm from Orlando, Florida. I was born in 86, so the Orlando Magic, Shaq Penny, Nick Anderson, Horace Grant, that squad, Darrell Armstrong, that's my squad.
Got to the finals.
Come on, man. I'll remember it forever. I cried by myself in a dark room during the 30 for 30. This magic moment, reliving all that.
Yeah.
But I love our team now. I've been with the Magic my whole life. I love Powell.
Yeah, they played really well this year. I like them.
That's a Braves jersey through the first pitch out in Atlanta. That was real
nice.
Sweet. I did that during Big Door Prize. That right there is signed by the entire New York City FC squad. I got to play in a soccer game with them, which was really, really cool.
Wow.
Go, man. They were real sweet. I got to play with young Gio Reyna because this was a few years ago now.
Yeah.
So it was real cool now seeing what he's doing on the squad.
Yep.
That is a Game Award Andrew Luck, given to me by my best friend, to me and my wife as a wedding present, signed by Andrew Luck. She's a Colts fan. She's from Evansville, Indiana, my wife. So I'm an honorary Colts fan and an honorary Hoosier. Those are the two Indiana teams
Nice.
in our house.
Nice.
And my teams are the Jets, the Rangers, the Knicks, the Magic. That's where like my real diehard fandom comes in. Those four squads.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So,
what
Sue,
about baseball in New York?
Oh yeah, baseball.
So that's why I say I can't claim, to be honest, I'm one of those. You'll see me in a Yankee hat on a Monday, and you'll see me in a Met hat on a Tuesday. If the Mets are playing the Yanks, there's a part of me that wants to see the Mets win. I don't know. I just kind of like seeing that. But
Yeah.
I grew up.
I was gonna say that all Mets fans want to see them win.
Well, that's it. You know, you don't need the whole story, but honestly, it's more so I just love baseball. I grew up playing baseball, in Little League like we all did. And I used to watch a lot of the Braves being in Orlando. They'd come down for the Disney Wide World of Sports for spring training, and it was on TBS. So I grew up with Chipper, Andrew, Andres Galarraga, that bullpen. That was just watching it. Got older, moved to New York, started to get to Yankees games, get to Mets games. But it wasn't really until like the Baby Bombers, this new squad there, Judge, Giancarlo, like that whole squad, then started really pick them up. Then I moved to Long Island City, which is off the 7 train. And what do you do when you have kids and you're off the 7 train? You go to Mets games. So I was at Mets games for the past 7 years, every year. And now I really feel an affinity towards the Mets, So it's just hard. So I'm cheering for them.
Believe me, being a Mets fan has got to be hard. I just watched the Dodgers sweep them.
Oh, God, it is so depressing.
And I'll tell you, too, what really matters to me above all that is that any New York team, even the Giants, like any New York team, when they're doing well, you feel it. You feel it in the city. You feel it in its bones. The whole city is rocking. So it's just so nice. These past few weeks with the Knicks and the Rangers and the playoffs was so fun. I got the Raiders game on right now. It's not on right now. I'm gonna go watch it when we hop off.
Nice, nice.
So it's a nice thing when any of the squads are going.
Okay, so Sue, here's a test. If there was one Morpho card that would cause me to leave ESPN, leave the whole thing, you can figure it out, Sue. What's the Morpho card that would do that?
You would be
what
an
would
actor.
It say?
Oh, an actor on Broadway. Singing in musical.
Yes, that's absolutely it. If it said actor, I would bail on everything. That's what I wanted to be as a little kid. So if the Morpho machine was here and I'd spit out the actor card, I would probably walk away from everything.
That is awesome. Well, then, it's funny. If I got sports anchor, play-by-play, talker, I'd be swapping, bro. So it's funny that you get to work in sports and you guys have such an awesome podcast. And thank you for having me on as a guest. But maybe we'll swap for a year. Let's do it
for 1 year. 1 year.
Hey,
let's do
all
it.
right. That sounds
great. Josh, this has been fantastic, man. You are all love. I love that, man. You are such a cool dude. It comes through in all of your characters, Giorgio and Lance and everything you do. The Big Door Prize is now streaming on Apple Plus. Last couple of episodes coming out in the next few weeks. It is great having you on, Josh. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. This was really fun. Thanks for the thoughtful questions. I appreciate it.
There you have it, Josh Segarra. That guy is just such a cool dude.
Oh my God. Can anybody be more positive than him?
I know.
And just fun.
Yeah. What a great guy. If you've not watched the Big Door Prize, definitely check it out. It is it really does have a Schitt's Creek vibe to me. I was shocked when I looked it up and saw, oh yeah, the executive producer is the same from Schitt's Creek, because there's not a mean bone in anybody's body in the cast of or on the characters of Schitt's Creek, and the same goes for the Big Door Prize, I think.
Right. They did something kind of cool, which they did in Ozark, and I'm wondering if it was kind of an homage to Ozark. In the opening credits, right before I guess right when they were doing the cold open, right after the cold open, they show you they were going through like a door,
Right.
And it had all these icons, which gave you an idea of what the themes were going to be in the episode.
Yes, sure.
And I didn't like when I first started seeing it, I didn't really connect it. And I was like, oh, okay. So when I saw like a car tearing off, I was like, we're going to see that in the episode. So
yes,
I thought that was cool little thing they did there.
Very cool. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on Apple Plus. By the way, the other show we talked about, so damn funny.
I know,
and
really
that's
is.
on Max. You can check that out. There are a few, 2 or 3 seasons, I think, of the other two, which is great. All right. Hey, listen, if you're watching, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button. We like that too. If you're listening on Apple or on Spotify, subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating. I'm telling you in advance what the rating is going. It should be a 5-star rating. And leave us a review with many nice comments. Again, 5 stars and nice comments is what we're looking for on Apple and Spotify. Was I clear enough, Sue?
I think you were very clear, but I want to ask you, how many stars?
5.
Okay.
5 stars. That's what we're looking for. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. And we will see you next time on the Culture Pop Podcast.